Ugh, seriously, what a nuisance. She's got no redeeming qualities as a wife.
Absolutely right. It would have been better if you, Harry, had married someone else. Oh, here we go again. The heartless remarks from my husband and mother-in-law. It's become a daily occurrence, but I can never get used to it. Every time they say hurtful things, my heart aches and tears well up. Even so, I never let my tears show in front of them. Crying would only give them more satisfaction. Since we got married, I've been enduring their bullying. The relentless bullying from my husband, who has had a complete attitude change, and my mother-in-law, who constantly looks down on me. But it's all coming to an end now. If I keep enduring it, my heart will break.
Get out of here quickly.
We don't need a useless daughter-in-law. In that moment, when my husband and mother-in-law said that to me, I made up my mind. I will get revenge on both of them in the best way possible. My name is Ivy Morgan, and I'm 29 years old. I'm not an ordinary housewife, living a normal and happy married life. Hell began 2 years ago. Looking back now, marrying my husband was a mistake. I met Harry, my husband, 3 years ago, and we got married after a year of dating. As I became a full-time housewife, we initially led a completely typical newlywed life. However, just 2 weeks after our marriage was officially registered, my mother-in-law called me. Ivy, please help me. Mom, what's happened? I fell down the stairs just now. I can't move my body. What? Are you okay? I'll call an ambulance right now. I don't want an ambulance. It's embarrassing. Please, Ivy, come to my house right away. Yes, I understand. It takes about 30 minutes by car to get to my in-laws' house. I still hadn't finished my household chores, but given that my mother-in-law ended up in such a situation, I had no choice but to rush over there. Moreover, my father-in-law passed away a few years ago, so my mother-in-law lives alone. If I didn't hurry to her, my mother-in-law might end up in a worse situation. Without further thought, I rushed out of my house. When I arrived at my in-laws' place, my mother-in-law was wincing, crouching at the entrance. Mom! Ivy, you're late! I'm sorry, I got stuck in traffic. I rushed here as fast as I could. Never mind that. Just lend me your shoulder for a moment. I think I hit my back. You need to put a compress on it. Okay. Afterwards, while being grumbled at and complained to, I applied a compress to my mother-in-law's back. Although there didn't seem to be any severe injuries, I followed her instructions just to be safe. As things turned out, I ended up staying at my in-laws' place, waiting for my husband to arrive. Around 8 p.m., my husband finally came home.
Mom, are you okay?
Harry rushed into the living room in a fluster. Seeing him like that, my mother-in-law smiled genuinely, seeming quite delighted. Oh, Harry, you came. I'm fine, really.
When I heard you fell down the stairs, I was seriously worried. Why didn't you let me know sooner?
But you were at work, right? I thought Ivy might be free, so I called her. I applied a compress just in case, and I didn't want to bother you during the day, so I contacted you in the evening.
If you had told me then, I would have left work early to come here.
Well, you truly are a kind-hearted boy, Harry. At that moment, I felt a sense of unease. Certainly, my husband is kind-hearted. However, could his concern for his mother be crossing a certain line? It might sound harsh, but it feels like his worry is bordering on being overly dependent on his mother. In one word, a mama's boy. Nevertheless, at that time, we had just gotten married, and I couldn't point it out clearly. A month later, my husband, who was off work that day, was working hard in the morning to clean up the house. What are you doing? Casually inquiring, I asked, and he responded as if it were a matter of course.
What else? I'm preparing for Mom's move.
Move? Wait a second. What are you talking about?
Huh? Didn't I tell you? Mom is moving in here tomorrow.
What? Are you kidding? I never heard anything about this.
Didn't think I needed to tell you. I pay the rent for this place and you're being fed, Ivy.
Well, that's true, but... While humming a tune, my husband happily continued tidying up the room. Normally, he wouldn't bother cleaning up even if I asked him to. The idea of his mother moving in without consulting me is just unbelievable. But if I say anything more, it might just turn into an argument. Is it because I'm a full-time housewife that I have to feel so restricted like this? I've pleaded with my husband many times, but he responded with,
"It's already decided,
and
you have no right to complain,"
leaving me feeling completely dismissed. The next day, during his mother's move, my husband was fully devoted to her. Though he was supposed to be at work, he took a paid day off just to help her with the move. Of course, I was also made to help, and the whole day was spent assisting with the move. "Ivy, I'm counting on you from now on." With a cheerful smile, my mother-in-law expressed her feelings. Though I couldn't possibly feel happy about it, I managed to force a smile. I'm counting on you too, thank you." "That's right. I'll rely on you, Ivy, for the household chores from now on. I want to enjoy a relaxed life, so I'll leave it to you." Well, at least the laundry." "Of course you'll be doing it, won't you? After all, you're a full-time housewife, right?" But... When I tried to retort, my husband glared at me sharply. His gaze froze me, and I couldn't say anything more. From that moment on, I became convenient, like a servant for them. No, it's more accurate to say I became a housemaid. I handled everything from cleaning, laundry, meals, to even shopping my mother-in-law's necessities. However, I never received any payment from her. She would say, "I'll pay you all at once later," but she never actually gave me anything. Even though I'm a full-time housewife, I still had significant savings for my single days. I used that money to buy things for myself, and now, with the added expenses for my mother-in-law, it's putting a strain on my finances. I was fed up with my husband and mother-in-law's lack of understanding. After enduring this lifestyle for about 6 months, I couldn't take it anymore, and finally decided to talk to my husband about it. Confirming that my mother-in-law was sleeping in her room, I brought up the conversation in our bedroom. Hey Harry, I want you to talk to your mom about paying for some of the expenses."
"Expenses? What are you talking about?"
"I mentioned it before, right? Mom asks me to do her shopping, but she never pays me back for it."
"Oh, is that what it's about? Isn't it just being a good child to give her a little money? Come on."
"It's not just a little, it's almost $5,000 already."
$5,000? To you, Ivy, that shouldn't be a big deal, right? You used to work for a huge company with a high salary after all.
As my husband said, after graduating from university, I worked for a major financial company known for its high salaries. My income was much higher than others my age, and my bonuses were astonishingly generous. Since I didn't have any particular hobbies, saving money became my hobby, and I managed to save a substantial amount. But ever since becoming a full-time housewife, Harry barely gave me any allowance, and I had to dip into my savings. On top of that, my mother-in-law's shopping expenses added up, and my savings were quickly dwindling. After numerous attempts to explain my feelings, my frustration finally boiled over, and I raised my voice with Harry. "Why are you defending your mom so much? Can't you care a little about me too?"
"If that's how you feel, then do as you wish. I'll allow you to work from home."
"Huh? Work from home?"
"You can work if you want, but you'll be responsible for all the household chores. Deal? I'll get the necessary paperwork from the company to remove you from the dependent list."
"Wait, hold on a moment. I just want to work within the dependent limit and earn some pocket money."
"What? Don't always say things that suit you. I don't have any intention of supporting you anymore."
"But..." At first, I thought he was joking, but Harry really removed me from the dependent list. Panicking, I immediately contacted my former boss, who I was close with. After explaining the situation, they said, "Even if it's remote work, we'd love to have you back." As a result, I was able to work from home for my old company. However, it seemed to bother Harry and my mother-in-law that I was only working with a computer at home. Whenever I'm in the room working, they both find ways to disrupt me. Even though nothing has changed from before, Harry started complaining about my workload every day. On the other hand, my mother-in-law knocks on the door without hesitation, even when I'm working. "Hey, Ivy! My favorite snack is out of stock. Are you listening? Answer me. You're probably not doing any real work, right? Prioritize household chores. Focus on the housework." With each loud knock and shouting through the door, my mother-in-law's anger escalated. I had locked the door so she couldn't come into the room, but her behavior added to my daily stress. Why doesn't she understand, no matter how many times I tell her? Working doesn't just mean going to the office. I'm doing my share of household chores, so just leave me alone. At first, we used to put part of the money I earned into our shared account for living expenses, but as soon as I started contributing, Harry stopped depositing his share. Instead, he and his mother would go shopping, or even travel together on weekends. I no longer felt like Harry's wife. I had turned into a mere robot, supporting the lifestyle of my husband and his mother. Even after 2 years of marriage, the situation hadn't changed. I thought about divorce several times, but I couldn't bring myself to break the news to my parents, who were so happy for us. So, I continued to endure this life, feeling trapped. I started refusing the shopping requests from my mother-in-law, but she began making unauthorized online purchases. And since they were made using my money, I ended up paying for them in the end. "Ivy, there's another order I need to make today. Can you pay for it?" Again? It's really getting difficult to keep up with this. "Don't you dare act so high and mighty as my daughter-in-law. Who do you think allowed this marriage to happen?" That has nothing to do with this. "Anyway, I asked you for a favor. If you don't pay, there will be consequences." Lately, whenever I tried to argue back, my mother-in-law would start yelling at me. My husband followed suit, and they both started verbally abusing me without any hesitation. On one particular day, my husband had a day off, but I didn't want to face the two of them, so I decided to stay in my room and focus on my work. At that moment, I could hear my husband and mother-in-law's voices outside the door, deliberately speaking loud enough for me to hear.
Seriously, what a nuisance. She's got no redeeming qualities as a wife.
Absolutely right. It would have been better if you, Harry, had married someone else. Here we go again. The heartless remarks from my husband and mother-in-law. It's become a daily occurrence, but I can never get used to it. Every time they say hurtful things, my heart aches and tears well up. Even so, I never let my tears show in front of them. Crying would only give them more satisfaction. Am I supposed to endure this kind of life forever? That thought tightens my chest. As I reluctantly prepare lunch, I hear my husband and mother-in-law starting another conversation behind me.
"Why did I marry such a dimwit?"
Exactly, Harry. You could have found a much better partner, don't you think? Upon hearing their conversation, I couldn't help but speak up. If you dislike me that much, should I just leave? Upon hearing those words, my husband and mother-in-law seemed momentarily surprised, but they quickly grinned and retorted.
"If you're such a shut-in hermit, then get out of here already."
We don't need a useless daughter-in-law. At the moment, I saw them sneering and laughing as if they were mocking me, and my heart grew cold. I've endured so far, not wanting to disappoint my parents, but that's over now. If I keep enduring this, my heart will break. At the same time, a strong sense of revenge was budding in my heart. I won't take the easy way out and just leave. No, I'll make them suffer thoroughly. The next day, when my husband and mother-in-law were out, I withdrew all the money from the bank account, zeroing it out. After packing my belongings, I decided to stay with a former colleague whom I had previously informed. A few hours later, my husband called.
Where are you?
In response to his angry shout, I calmly retorted, Does it really matter where I am? I'll be away for about a year.
What? A year? Are you kidding me? What about living expenses?
Since I won't be here, why don't you cover your mother's expenses? Oh, by the way, I withdrew all the money from the bank account.
What? Wait, there was also my money in there.
You haven't been depositing any money since I started working, you know. I keep records. Let's consider the $3,000 you deposited as payment for your mother's shopping expenses. Well, it's still far from enough, though.
Calm down. I'm currently short on money.
Ignoring him, I hung up the phone and blocked his number. I explained the situation to my parents and asked them not to give any information to my husband. The following month, I rented an apartment on my own to ensure my husband and his mother wouldn't know my whereabouts. Exactly 1 year later, on this day, I carried the divorce papers and went to my former apartment. However, the room was already vacant and they were no longer living there. I spoke to the building manager, who informed me that they had moved to an apartment on the outskirts. When I arrived at the given location, I found an older building than I had imagined. As I rang the intercom, a frail and emaciated figure appeared. It was my mother-in-law. The moment she saw me, her eyes widened and she let out a gasp. Ivy, where have you been all this time? Long time no see. Is Harry here? He's at work. Because of you, he got fired from his job. He's barely getting by with a day job now. Huh? Is that my fault? Yes, it's all because you left and the money ran out. He couldn't even afford meals, and his motivation to go to work vanished, leading to frequent absences and eventually getting fired. Wait, that can't be my fault, right? As we were having that conversation, I heard a familiar voice from behind saying,
Ivy?
Here stood my husband, barely recognizable from the man he used to be, looking unkempt and disheveled.
Ivy, you finally came back. I've been waiting for you all this time.
As he approached me, I brushed away his hand and coldly retorted, I didn't come back. I brought the divorce papers.
What? Divorce? Are you kidding? I've been waiting for you, Ivy.
I haven't been waiting for you at all. In this past year, I heard you got fired from your job. How far will you disappoint people?
It's all your fault, isn't it? You took all the money.
The money in that account is mine. Or should I bill you for the remaining amount of your mother's shopping expenses?
No, that's... Anyway, come back. I won't divorce you, you know?
As my desperate husband pleaded, a deep sigh escaped me. Facing them, I made a clear declaration. I'm not coming back, and I have no intention of helping you. Do you have any idea how I felt living with you all this time? You never apologized for anything and only said things to make yourselves feel good.
Ivy.
I will never forgive you. You should regret your actions and suffer for the rest of your life. And just so you know, if you don't agree to the divorce, we'll settle this in court. I will do whatever it takes to make sure we get divorced, so be prepared for it. Upon hearing those final words, my husband turned pale and signed the divorce papers. I snatched the pre-filled divorce form and left the place with a sense of triumph. Later, I found out that my husband had been trying to win over my mother-in-law's favor by taking her on expensive trips, even going into debt for it. He must have thought that my earnings would cover the repayment, so he didn't see it as a problem. However, it turns out that after I was gone, he couldn't figure out a way to repay the debt, and he became mentally stressed. He started taking unauthorized absences from work and eventually got fired. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law, unable to maintain the lifestyle she was used to, has been taking out her frustrations on Harry every day. No matter how far you look, they are just a foolish mother and son. On the other hand, as for myself, now that all the problems have been resolved, I returned to working at my company instead of working from home. Living alone is comfortable, and every day feels very fulfilling. Next time I have time off, I think I'll go on a leisurely trip. From now on, I want to live in a way that makes me feel happy.